The crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the reception hall as I sat at table 12, far from the head table where my family laughed and clinked champagne glasses. My sister Jessica looked radiant in her custom Vera Wang gown, the one she'd gushed about for months, the one that cost more than most people's cars. The venue was stunning, an estate in Napa Valley with vineyard views and a price tag that made my eyes water when I'd first seen the invoice. But Jessica deserved it. She'd always been the golden child, the one who made the right choices, married the right man, lived the right life. I smoothed down my simple navy dress, bought off the rack at Nordstrom Rack, and took another sip of wine. Around me, distant cousins and family friends made polite conversation, but I could feel their pity. Poor Sarah, the divorced one. Sarah, who runs a little bakery. Sarah, who drives a 10-year-old Honda Civic and lives in a modest apartment in Oakland. Not like Jessica, the corporate lawyer, or my brother Marcus, the investment banker, or my younger sister Amanda, the doctor. The clinking of a knife against glass silenced the room. My father stood, commanding as always in his tailored tuxedo, his silver hair perfectly styled. At 65, Richard Chen still looked like the successful real estate developer he'd been before retirement. My mother, elegant in champagne silk, beamed up at him. Family, friends, honored guests, Dad began, his voice carrying across the hall with practiced ease. Today, we celebrate the union of two incredible people. But I also want to take a moment to talk about what makes me most proud as a father. My stomach tightened. I knew what was coming. When Patricia and I started our family 38 years ago, we had dreams for our children. We wanted them to be successful, to make their mark on the world, to make us proud. He paused, looking at the head table. Marcus, you've built an impressive career on Wall Street. Amanda, you're saving lives every day as a cardiologist. And Jessica, my darling daughter, you're a partner at one of San Francisco's top law firms, and now you've found your perfect match in David. The applause was thunderous. I joined in, my hands moving mechanically. These three have shown what hard work and dedication can achieve. They've honored the sacrifices Patricia and I made, the education we provided, the values we instilled. His eyes swept the room, pausing briefly on me before moving away. They've made something of themselves. They've built lives we can be proud of. The omission was deafening. He'd listed 3 children. We were 4. My mother touched his arm, whispering something, but he waved her off. To Jessica and David. And to the success of all my children who've made the right choices in life. May your marriage be as strong as your careers. More applause. More champagne glasses raised. I sat frozen, my face burning. Around me, I could feel the awkward glances, the whispered comments. The elderly woman next to me patted my hand sympathetically. I'm sure he didn't mean anything by it, dear. But he did. And everyone knew it. Jessica caught my eye from the head table, her expression guilty but not guilty enough to say anything. Marcus was texting, oblivious. Amanda looked uncomfortable but stayed silent. David, the groom, seemed confused by the tension. I finished my wine in one long swallow and stood. My chair scraped loudly against the floor, drawing attention, but I didn't care anymore. I grabbed my clutch and walked out of the reception hall, my heels clicking against the marble floor. Behind me, the party continued without missing a beat. The band started playing, people flooded the dance floor, and Sarah Chen, the family failure, disappeared into the night. As I drove home in my worthless Honda, tears streaming down my face, I made a decision. If they wanted to pretend I didn't exist, I could make that a reality in ways they never imagined. But first, let me tell you how I got here. 5 years ago, my marriage fell apart. Tom left me for his dental hygienist, a cliché so painful it was almost funny. My family's reaction was worse than the divorce itself. My father actually said, "Well, Sarah, if you'd focused more on your marriage and less on playing with flour and sugar, maybe he wouldn't have strayed." My mother spent months sighing about what people would think and wondering out loud where she'd gone wrong with me. The divorce was finalized on my 30th birthday. I got the house, which I immediately sold, and a settlement that Tom's lawyer thought was generous. It wasn't, but I didn't have the energy to fight. I took my half of everything, which came to about $200,000 after legal fees, and did something my family still doesn't understand. I started over. I'd been baking since I was 12, when my grandmother taught me her secret recipe for Portuguese egg tarts. All through college, grad school, my corporate marketing job, my marriage, I'd baked. It was my therapy, my meditation, my joy. Friends were always asking me to make their wedding cakes, their birthday cakes, their special occasion desserts. You should open a bakery, they'd say. After the divorce, I thought, why not? With my settlement and a small business loan, I opened Sweet Sarah's in a modest storefront in Oakland's Temescal district. It was tiny, just me and one part-time employee, but it was mine. I worked 18-hour days, perfecting recipes, building a customer base, learning the business side of baking. My family came to the grand opening out of obligation, stayed for 20 minutes, and never came back. It's a cute hobby, my mother said, but when are you going to get back to real work? Marketing was a real career, my father added. This is just playing. But here's what they didn't know, what they never bothered to ask about, what they assumed because I drove an old car and lived simply and didn't flash wealth like they did. Sweet Sarah's wasn't just one bakery anymore. Within 6 months, we'd outgrown our space. I opened a second location in Berkeley, then a third in San Francisco's Mission District. Then 2 more in Palo Alto and Marin. Each location had its own vibe, its own specialty items, but all carried my grandmother's Portuguese egg tarts and my signature honey lavender cupcakes that food bloggers called transcendent. I hired a business manager, a brilliant woman named Monica who'd helped scale 3 successful restaurant groups. She looked at my books and said, "Sarah, you're sitting on a gold mine. We need to expand strategically." We did. We added wholesale accounts with Whole Foods and local coffee shops. We started a line of organic, allergen-free baked goods that sold out constantly. We got a contract to supply a major tech company's cafeterias. We launched an online shipping business that exploded during the pandemic. By year 3, Sweet Sarah's had 12 locations across the Bay Area and revenues of $4 million annually. I paid myself a modest salary of $80,000, lived well below my means, and reinvested everything else into the business. My net worth was just over $3 million, between the business value, my real estate investments, and my savings. But I drove a Honda Civic with 160,000 miles on it. I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment in Oakland that I'd lived in since the divorce. I wore clothes from Target and Nordstrom Rack. I got my hair cut at the local beauty school. I lived like I made $30,000 a year, not $3 million. Why? Because 2 years ago, I'd made the mistake of telling my family the truth about how well the business was doing. Just once, at a family dinner, I'd mentioned that we were opening our 10th location and had crossed $3 million in annual revenue. Within a week, Marcus called asking for a loan of $50,000 for a sure-thing investment opportunity. My mother mentioned she'd always wanted to remodel the kitchen and wouldn't it be wonderful if I could chip in since I was doing so well. My father suggested I could finally pay back all the money they'd spent on my education, even though they'd paid the same for all 4 of us. Jessica needed help with her student loans. Amanda wanted money for a down payment on a house. None of them asked. They all expected. Because in their minds, my money was family money, but their money was their own. I said no to all of them, and the freeze-out began. Suddenly, I was back to being the family disappointment. My success was dismissed as luck or a trend that won't last. They stopped calling unless they needed something. Family dinners became awkward ordeals where my business was never mentioned, but everyone else's achievements were celebrated endlessly. So I went back underground. I stopped talking about Sweet Sarah's. When they asked how business was, I said, getting by. When they saw my old car, I shrugged and said, it still runs. When they commented on my cheap clothes, I didn't correct their assumptions. And here's the thing they really didn't know. For the past 3 years, despite their coldness, despite their dismissal, despite everything, I'd been quietly helping them. Not because they deserved it, but because I couldn't help myself. Because I still hoped that, maybe, someday, they'd see me. Jessica's wedding? The one she'd been planning for 18 months? The one at the exclusive Napa estate with the vineyard views and the celebrity florist and the 8-tier cake. She and David had budgeted $70,000. The actual cost was closer to $85,000. When the venue demanded full payment 3 months before the wedding, and Jessica panicked because they were short, who do you think stepped in? I called the venue, identified myself as the bride's sister, and paid the $15,000 balance. Just don't tell Jessica, I told the wedding planner. I want it to be a surprise. Tell her you found a discount or something. The planner, a sweet woman named Kara, had looked at me with understanding eyes. You're a good sister. Was I? Because I didn't feel good. I felt like a fool. But Jessica wasn't the only one. 2 years ago, Marcus's sure thing investment had gone bust, and he'd nearly lost his apartment in Manhattan. He'd called everyone but me, desperate for money to cover his rent until his next bonus came through. My parents couldn't help, they were retired and on a fixed income, or so I thought. Jessica and Amanda were both drowning in student loans. So I'd called Marcus's landlord, posing as a third-party payment service, and paid 3 months of his rent, $21,000 total. Marcus thought his management company had given him a payment extension. He never knew. Amanda needed a new car last year when hers died right before she started her cardiology fellowship. She was looking at used cars, trying to figure out financing. I bought her a certified pre-owned Toyota Camry through a dealership, had them tell her it was a prize from a raffle she'd entered at a medical conference. $32,000. She drove that car every day and had no idea. Even my parents, who'd retired on what they claimed was a tight budget, had benefited from my invisible help. When their roof needed replacing last year, a $40,000 job, they'd been beside themselves with worry. I'd called their contractor, paid half the bill anonymously, and told him to tell them he'd found a cheaper crew. They thought they'd gotten a deal. Over the past 3 years, I'd quietly given my family over $150,000, none of which they knew about. And in return, I got tonight. I got my father standing in front of 200 people and erasing me from his list of successful children. As I pulled into my apartment complex, still crying, still furious, I made a decision that had been building for years. I was done. Monday morning, I drove to my lawyer's office in Oakland. Diane Wu had handled my business incorporation and my divorce. She was sharp, no nonsense, and one of the few people who knew the full truth about my finances. "Sarah," she said, looking up from her desk with concern. "I got your message. What's going on?" I told her everything. The wedding, the toast, the years of invisible support, the dismissal, the pain. By the end, I wasn't crying anymore. I was cold, clear, determined. "I want to stop all of it," I said. "Everything I've been doing to help them. And I want them to know it was me." Diane leaned back in her chair, studying me. "Are you sure? This is going to blow up your family." "They blew up our family," I said quietly. "I'm just revealing the explosion." She nodded slowly. "Okay. Let's make a list." We spent 2 hours going through every payment, every gift, every anonymous contribution I'd made. Then we made calls. To Jessica's venue. To Marcus's landlord. To Amanda's car dealership. To my parents' contractor. To everyone who'd helped me help my family without them knowing. The instructions were simple: tell them the truth. Tell them who really paid. Tell them today. Then Diane drafted a letter, professional and factual, laying out every payment I'd made over the past 3 years, with dates, amounts, and documentation. She printed 4 copies. "I'll messenger these to each of them today," she said. "They'll have them by this evening." "Good," I said. "I want to meet with all of them Friday afternoon. Can you set that up here? Consider it done." She paused. "Sarah, are you prepared for how they're going to react?" "I'm prepared for anything," I said. "I've spent 5 years being invisible. It's time they actually saw me." The calls started Tuesday morning. My phone rang at 7 a.m. "Jessica." I let it go to voicemail. She called 4 more times. Then Marcus called. Then Amanda. Then my mother, her voice shrill with panic. Then my father, demanding I call him back immediately. I ignored them all. Tuesday afternoon, Diane texted me, "Jessica called the venue. They confirmed you paid the $15K balance." She's in shock. Wednesday morning, Marcus spoke to his old landlord. He knows about the rent payments. He's left 5 voicemails at my office. Wednesday afternoon. Amanda found out about the car. She's crying. Says she needs to talk to you. Thursday morning. Your parents know about the roof. Your mother called me sobbing. Your father is furious, but I think it's because he's embarrassed. I didn't respond to any of them. Not yet. Thursday evening, I did something I rarely did. I went to my flagship bakery in Oakland, not the tiny original location but the beautiful, spacious place we'd opened last year in Uptown. It had exposed brick, industrial lighting, a full coffee bar, and seating for 50 people. The display cases gleamed with my creations. Portuguese egg tarts, honey lavender cupcakes, chocolate cardamom brownies, lemon basil cookies, and dozens of other items that had made Sweet Sarah's famous. My evening manager, Tyler, looked surprised to see me. "Boss. We weren't expecting you tonight." Just wanted to check in, I said. How's everything going? Crushing it, as always. We sold out of the egg tarts by 2 p.m. Had to make another batch. And we got that big corporate order for Friday, already prepped and ready. I walked through the kitchen, pristine and efficient, with 3 bakers working in perfect synchronization. I checked the books, reviewed the online orders, talked to customers. This was real. This was mine. This was success, even if my family couldn't see it. As I was leaving, Tyler called out, "Hey, Sarah? I just want to say, I don't know where I'd be without this job. You gave me a shot when nobody else would, and now I'm managing a whole team. You changed my life." I smiled, genuinely. You changed your own life, Tyler. You just needed someone to believe in you. Maybe that's what hurt most about my family. I'd never needed their money or their connections or their approval to succeed. I just needed them to believe in me. And they never had. Friday afternoon at 2 p.m., I walked into Diane's conference room. My entire family was already there, sitting around the long table like defendants awaiting judgment. My mother had been crying, her eyes red and swollen. My father sat rigid, his jaw tight. Jessica looked devastated, still in her work clothes from her law firm. Marcus seemed confused and defensive. Amanda kept trying to catch my eye, but I looked away. I sat down at the head of the table, Diane beside me. In front of each family member was the letter we'd prepared, pages of documentation proving every payment, every gift, every anonymous contribution. "Thank you for coming," I said calmly. "I'm sure you've all had time to review the documents." "Sarah," my mother started, reaching for me, but I held up my hand. "Please don't. Not yet. I need to say this." I took a breath. For 3 years, I have quietly supported this family financially. Not because you asked. Not because you deserved it. But because despite everything, I loved you, and I hoped that maybe if I just helped enough, if I just gave enough, you'd finally see me as valuable. "Sweetie, my father began. "No." My voice was sharp. "You don't get to interrupt. Not this time. Saturday night, at Jessica's wedding, you stood up in front of 200 people and listed your successful children. You named 3. There are 4 of us. You erased me completely. You made it clear that in your eyes, I am nothing. A failure. An embarrassment. Not worth acknowledging." Jessica was crying now. "Sarah, Dad didn't mean." "He meant it," I said flatly. "He's meant it for 5 years. You all have. My business is a cute hobby. My life is a phase. My choices are disappointments. Well, let me tell you about my choices." I pulled out my own folder, much thicker than theirs. Sweet Sarah's is not a cute hobby. It's a chain of 12 bakeries with annual revenues of over $4 million. We employ 83 people. We're expanding to Sacramento and San Jose next quarter. We've been featured in Bon Appetit, Food and Wine, and the San Francisco Chronicle. We have contracts with major corporate clients and a wholesale business that's growing by 30% year over year. My personal net worth is approximately $3.2 million. The silence was absolute. But I drive a Honda Civic and live in a modest apartment because I'm building something sustainable, something that will last, something that employs real people and feeds real families. I'm not living a flashy life because I'm reinvesting in my business and my future. That's not failure. That's strategy. Marcus found his voice first. "Sarah. We had no idea. Because you never asked." I stood up, unable to sit still anymore. "Not once in 5 years has any of you asked me how business was really going. Not once have you visited any of my locations. Not once have you shown interest in what I've built. You see my old car and assume I'm struggling. You see my simple clothes and assume I'm poor. You've judged me based on appearances without ever bothering to learn the truth." "We didn't know you were helping us," Amanda said quietly. "If we'd known, would it have made a difference? Would you have respected me more if you'd known I was paying your bills? Or would you have just asked for more?" I shook my head. "I helped you because I'm your sister, your daughter. I helped you because that's what family does. But family also shows up for each other. Family celebrates each other's successes. Family doesn't erase each other from speeches at weddings." My mother was sobbing openly now. "Sarah, please, we're so sorry. We didn't understand. We thought. You thought I was a failure because I'm divorced and I didn't follow your prescribed path to success. You thought that because I chose happiness over prestige, passion over profit, meaning over money, I was less than. I felt my own tears starting. Do you have any idea how much that hurt? Do you have any idea how many times I wanted to quit, to give up, because my own family didn't believe in me? My father cleared his throat, his voice gruff. Sarah, I owe you an apology. We all do. I was wrong. Saturday night, I was wrong. I've been wrong for a long time. Yes, you have, I said simply. And I need you to understand something. I'm done being invisible. I'm done shrinking myself to make you comfortable. I'm done pretending to be less than I am. If you want me in your life, it will be on new terms. You will respect my choices. You will respect my business. You will respect me. Of course, Jessica said quickly. Sarah, I'm so sorry. The wedding. It was the happiest day of my life, but when I realized what Dad had done, what we'd all done for years, I was ashamed. And then finding out you'd paid for so much of it. She broke down completely. I don't deserve a sister like you. Maybe not, I said honestly. But you're stuck with me anyway. On one condition. Anything, she whispered. Stop treating me like I'm broken because I'm divorced. Stop treating my business like it's a phase. Stop treating my life like it's a consolation prize. I am successful. I am happy. I am enough. Exactly as I am. Amanda stood up and came around the table, pulling me into a hug. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I've been such a snob. Such a jerk. You literally bought me a car, and I didn't even thank you because I didn't know it was you. What kind of person does that make me? Human, I said, hugging her back. It makes you human. Marcus was next, awkward but sincere. I spent years thinking I was the successful one, the Wall Street hotshot, and I didn't even realize I couldn't make my own rent. You saved my ass, and I was too proud to even see it. Thank you. And I'm sorry. My mother stood, trembling. Sarah, my darling girl, I have failed you so completely. I let society's expectations and my own narrow view of success blind me to the incredible woman you've become. You're strong and independent and successful and generous, and I should have been shouting that from the rooftops, not whispering worries about what the neighbors think. Can you forgive me? I looked at her, this elegant woman who'd always cared so much about appearances, and I saw something I'd never seen before, genuine remorse. I can try, I said. But it's going to take time. And things have to change. Really change. My father was the last. He stood slowly, and for the first time in my life, I saw him look uncertain. Sarah, I don't have fancy words. I'm not good at this emotional stuff. But I was wrong. Dead wrong. You are successful. You've built something from nothing, something real and meaningful. You've helped your family without asking for anything in return. You're generous and kind and stronger than any of us. His voice cracked. You're exactly the kind of child I should be proud of, and I've been too stupid and stubborn to see it. I'm proud of you. I'm so damn proud of you. And I'm sorry it took all this for me to say it. I couldn't hold back the tears anymore. This was what I'd wanted for 5 years. Not their money, not their help, not even their approval. Just their recognition. Just their pride. Just their love, offered freely without conditions. Okay, I said shakily. Okay. We can work with this. Diane, who'd been quietly observing, spoke up. I have a suggestion. Sarah has prepared agreements for each of you regarding the money she's contributed over the years. She's not asking for repayment, but she is asking for acknowledgement. Each document details what she's done for you and asks that you formally acknowledge her contribution to your lives. It's not legally binding, but it's a record. A truth. One by one, they signed. One by one, they acknowledged what I'd done, what I'd given, what I'd sacrificed. It wasn't about the money, it was about being seen. Afterward, we went to dinner. Not to some fancy restaurant, but to a small Italian place in Oakland, near my apartment. We sat around a table meant for 4 and squeezed in 6 chairs, and we talked. Really talked. For the first time in years, they asked me about my business, and I told them. I showed them photos of my bakeries, my products, my team. I told them about my plans to expand, my dreams to maybe franchise someday, my goal to create employee ownership programs. They listened. Actually listened. Jessica asked if she could come visit my flagship location. Marcus wanted to know if I needed any business advice. Amanda offered to bring her doctor friends for a corporate tasting event. My mother asked if I'd teach her some of my recipes. My father said he wanted to invest in the expansion, as a real investor, with proper paperwork and terms. I don't need investors right now, I said gently. But if I do, I'll let you know. As a real business opportunity, not as a favor. Fair enough, he said. As we were leaving, my father pulled me aside. Saturday night, I'm going to call everyone who was at that wedding. I'm going to tell them I made a terrible mistake. I'm going to tell them about you, about your business, about everything. I'm going to make this right. You don't have to do that, I said. Yes, I do. I humiliated you publicly. I need to correct that publicly. You deserve that. 2 weeks later, my phone started ringing with congratulatory calls from family, friends, distant relatives, my parents' neighbors. Apparently, my father had made good on his promise. More than that, he'd done something I never expected. He'd written a post on Facebook, which he barely used, titled An Apology to My Daughter. In it, he detailed his mistake at the wedding, his years of misunderstanding, and his newfound pride in my accomplishments. He included photos of sweet Sarah's, quotes from positive reviews, and a heartfelt plea for other parents to look beyond their expectations and see their children for who they truly are. It went viral in our extended family and community. Hundreds of comments from people sharing similar stories, thanking him for his honesty, praising me for my success and grace. My mother framed the post and hung it in their living room. Jessica insisted on a do-over family photo, this one taken at my flagship bakery, with me in the center and my parents on either side, all of us holding trays of Portuguese egg tarts. It's still her phone wallpaper. Marcus actually took me up on the business advice offer, and we spent hours going through my financials, strategizing expansion plans. He connected me with some of his Wall Street contacts for potential investment opportunities down the line. Amanda did bring her doctor friends, and we landed a huge contract to supply 3 hospitals with healthy, dietary-specific baked goods. It's become one of our most profitable lines. And my parents? They come to Sunday dinner at my apartment now, not theirs. They help me test new recipes. They ask about my day, my challenges, my victories. They see me. The funny thing is, I drive the same Honda Civic. I live in the same modest apartment. I still shop at Nordstrom Rack. Because that was never about proving anything to them. That was always about being smart with my money and investing in what matters. What changed wasn't my life. It was their willingness to see it. 3 months after that meeting in Diane's office, we had another family gathering. This time, it was at Sweet Sarah's newest location in San Jose, a grand opening celebration. The whole family was there, helping set up, greeting customers, celebrating with me. As I watched my father proudly explaining to strangers how his daughter had built this business from nothing, as I saw my mother handing out free samples with a huge smile, as my siblings helped behind the counter, I realized something important. I'd spent 5 years trying to earn their love by being invisible, by giving without asking, by helping without acknowledgement. But love doesn't work that way. Real love, family love, requires vulnerability. It requires standing up and saying, "This is who I am. This is what I've done. See me." It requires demanding to be seen. And sometimes, just sometimes, the people who love you will finally open their eyes. At the end of the night, as we were closing up, my father approached me. "Sarah, I have something for you." He handed me a small box. Inside was a watch, elegant and simple. On the back, it was engraved. "To Sarah, who taught us to see. With love and pride, Dad." I looked up at him, tears in my eyes. "Dad, you didn't have to. I wanted to. I wanted you to have something from me that acknowledged what you've done, who you are. Not just the business, but you. Your strength. Your grace. Your incredible heart." He pulled me into a hug. "I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. But I see it now. And I'm never looking away again." That night, driving home in my trusty Honda, I wore that watch. I've worn it every day since. Because it's not about the money. It's not about the success. It's not even about the bakeries or the recognition or the apologies. It's about being seen. Really seen. Not for what you can give, but for who you are. And finally, after 5 long years, I was seen. Not because I made myself smaller, but because I finally demanded to be recognized for my full size. Not because I hid my success, but because I revealed it. Not because I gave endlessly without acknowledgement, but because I stood up and said, "This is what I've done. This matters. I matter." If there's anything I learned from that awful Saturday night, from that humiliating toast, from the painful confrontation that followed, it's this. Don't shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Don't hide your light to avoid outshining anyone else. Don't give endlessly while accepting nothing in return. Stand up, speak up, demand to be seen. Because you are successful. You are worthy, you are enough. Exactly as you are. And anyone who can't see that, maybe it's time they learn to open their eyes.